Good
Okay,
morning.
good morning, good morning. We are live.
Excellent.
Hello, hello.
Hey, and we are here with one of our regulars, Chris. Great to see you.
Yeah, part-time co-presenter.
Excellent. So, the reason we are here is that a couple of weeks ago, Chris gave an internal presentation to I think our sales engineers, and I was normally I don't dial into these because this is overlapping with the frequency, and I dialed in, and then Chris absolutely blew my socks off by just he was just presenting a bunch of stuff and thinking, oh yeah, and then oh there's more, there's more, and then at some point he showed the Git repository, and the Git repository said, um, this commit is 45 minutes old, and I just couldn't hold it anymore because Chris, you're such a machine, and that's when I pinged Dominic and I said, Dominic, we have a session. Chris needs to present AuthorKit. Yeah, Chris, what is AuthorKit?
Yeah, so I mean, I have a couple of slides that, and I'm going to recycle the exact same slides, but um, we Adobe.com is famously, like by some metrics, the largest edge delivery site in the world. It certainly has probably the most amount of pages, or pretty close to, especially if you throw in Experience League. So we're talking millions of pages across 90 locales. You have 100 engineers, and one of the things that we see in the wild when we support people in Discord and whatnot is, a lot of people are like, hey, how do I do XYZ? And all of us that are on the other side of edge delivery, we're like, well, just it's really easy. And if you're coming from an AEM background, you might know how easy it is, like how little code you have to write or whatever to support a certain feature. And we purposefully, when we started this whole journey with edge delivery services, we purposefully looked at, like, how did we do it in AEM, and like, what are the good parts, what are the parts we weren't quite fans of, and then so everybody needs a starter project, and so we had boilerplate, and boilerplate's a really great starter project.
Yeah.
But it was purposefully bare bones. We purposefully didn't want to have any sort of too many opinions in it. There's of course a few to get you to that perfect core web vital score and that perfect lighthouse score. There's a few opinions in there. And so I was feeling like I want to send people what we did on adobe.com, and of course it's open source, so we can do that. But as most people know, when you start your project, it quickly goes from like boilerplate to like something really opinionated real fast. Especially some newer sites. So I wanted something that was kind of like, it's like, okay, we have boilerplates, and if you're still asking questions in Discord or you're asking your ACS or whoever, and you're still asking questions, we have Block Party, or sorry, Block Collection, and that's like, hey, if you want to know how to build a really great carousel, Block Collection's there for you. And then you're like, if you're still not, if you're still not quite satisfied, and you're like, well, okay, you can go to Block Party, and there's a lot of contributions in Block Party, and some of those contributions are really great, and some of those contributions are like, some engineer built something for the very first time, and they're really excited about it, and they're like, I want to contribute this to the community, and it does show that it was their first time or their first attempt at building something. So it was like, well, how can we like, not in fact, maybe I'll I guess start sharing. Let me see if I can share. I'm guessing share screen. Oh, don't make me do this. Open system. Oh, you're going to make me relog in. I'm really upset because I have always had this turned on. I think Tahoe is, I don't know why it's asking me for permission when I think I can just do this. Let's do entire screen. Let's see if this just works, and we'll see if I can. Why are you? Let me just. Don't tell me this is going to be. Let me see if I can quit this. I'm just in like an infinite loop of this thing that says open system settings, and system settings are open. and you all can see this. I'll quit and rejoin. My apologies.
No worries, Chris.
I haven't changed my browser. I don't know why
Yep.
it's asking. So
this tells us that despite Chris being a regular here on the show, he hasn't been on in a while since we switched to StreamYard. And
last time, I think we had no screen sharing. Maybe that could be that he was only joining for as an expert.
Yeah.
So let's see what's happening. By the way, I jump out 5 minutes before the hour. Just
no worries.
Yeah.
What Chris spoke about, right, are boilerplate, block collection, and block party. And hello, Chris, welcome back. And the philosophy of boilerplate is basically if you have to delete it from boilerplate, then we failed because we made boilerplate too big. It's really meant to be super minimal, but that means it's extremely bare bones. Right? Block collection, on the other hand, is curated by the Edge delivery product team, and as any curated set, it's a smaller set of blocks that are available, and on top of that, it's mostly focused on blocks, right? Not on adjacent implementations. And then finally, we have block collection. Block collection we have block party, and the idea of block party is very much the idea of a potluck, right? Everyone is bringing whatever they want to bring. Everyone is accepted, and that can also, right? You will definitely have some novice cooks in the kitchen here, but we're glad that this exists, and we're glad for every contribution, and it's always an opportunity to see what other Edge delivery sites are doing, and on top of that, of course, a lot of the sites that are running on Edge delivery actually have their repositories public, which we also appreciate, because that's a great way for developers to learn from projects and from sites that they like and admire. So, Chris, welcome back. Do you think we have the sharing?
Yeah, I think you all can see my screen.
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, there was kind of a confluence of events, and again, this, as Lars said, this kind of started out as an internal conversation. But we have people on Discord asking like, well, how do I build XYZ? And it can be something simple, and it can be something complex. We also got a couple pieces of feedback, and what's interesting is some people conflate what a CMS can do versus what a project decided to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had somebody, it's funny because we hear all the misconceptions in the world. And one of the misconceptions that we have been battling since the beginning is Edge delivery is only for blogs. Well, it was pretty amazing. I think last week I heard somebody say, well, Edge delivery doesn't support blogs. And I'm like, you two should get in a room and talk. And so we actually had people that said, we had, again, because as Lars said, this is an internal kind of sales engineering thing. And somebody said, hey, we lost XYZ customer because we couldn't show an Edge delivery blog, or, insert your pet feature.
Yep.
And then we also had a couple customers that were like, well, we know adobe.com is on Edge delivery. How does adobe.com work? And it was like, I was struggling to say well, look at this part, but this part is really opinionated and probably not what you should do, but we did it under these kind of constraints. And so it was a little hard to say how to build something, or just to say a very cut and dry, here's an example, just run with it. And so these sorts of questions may sound familiar, which is hey, how do I open a new window? Or again, more negatively, Edge delivery doesn't support opening links in a new window. I've again heard that before. These are actually direct quotes.
Yeah.
And we say hey, if you're on boilerplate, write some code and you can do this. And the challenge is, you as a developer, you're well, how do I write that code? If I don't have those agent skills that we just released. How do I get my AI to know the best patterns to do this in a performant way?
Yeah.
How do I make a hero with a background video? You might read some documentation and it's like, hey, you should use a poster image. Well, a poster image is not responsive. And so you go down these paths, and we see people go down these paths and then they don't have like really great performance. And we're like, oh yeah, you kind of got misled a little bit. And if you would have done a little bit more research, and of course the answer is write some code. The other one that we hear a lot, especially now that DA enables really easy localization, people are starting to localize their edge delivery sites. They're not coming up with these homegrown solutions to localized sites. And they say, hey, well, how do I create a localized site? I'm sure DA orchestrates all of that and puts all my content in the right spot, but how do I make sure my links are localized and things like that? And of course, our answer is, well, write some code. And again, I'm going to I don't know why Chrome is asking for that. And so how do I put text next to my YouTube video? You all are telling me like nesting is bad. How do I put text and a video next to each other if I have these two blocks? How do I do that? Mm-hmm. We say, well, you gotta write some code. I have to write some code to just put text next to a YouTube video. How do I, another really common one, how do I integrate my design system? What are the trade-offs? If I do bring in a design system, how do I still have really great, how do I maybe have tokenized, style tokens for spacing, or how many, like what size grid am I going to allow? And we say, hey, go write some code, and best of luck. Maybe go look at boilerplate, block party, and block collection. Or another one. This is a little bit of a curveball. We get a lot of this because people come from AEM, and it's like, hey, my authors want a little bit more flexibility with being able to control grid counts. Like, oh, sometimes I want 1 up on a grid, and sometimes I want 4 up on a grid. Mm-hmm. And we say, hey, they shouldn't want that. They shouldn't want that kind of flexibility, because we know actually that you end up getting fiddly, and it becomes like kind of a content migration issue when you start like combining content and code layouts together, almost like these utility functions. So even if we don't think it's necessarily the best idea in the world from an authoring perspective, the heart wants what the heart wants. And so we're like, okay, if you are going to do this thing, let's at least give you like a good path to do this. This one was another one. How can you? This was actually a real question. How can you align text and DA? Of course, write some code. If we talk about needing some blocks, you've got block collection. And if you need some features, you're searching across GitHub, or you're searching across block party. And so you go, if adobe.com is on this one end of the spectrum, and then boilerplate is on the other end of the spectrum, there's this sort of cavern, or maybe I'm sort of overemphasizing this, but there's this cavern of missing features, because you do have this adobe.com project that is, it's almost 4 years old now. And so the idea is, start with boilerplate, because you don't have to, if you've ever felt like, oh, I've got to remove, like I started off with this really big project, back in the day, geometrics maybe. And then I have to like remove all this code to get down to a baseline that I'm happy with. And yep. The idea is like, instead of that, like start with boilerplate. And then as you have these needs, you can kind of look at AuthorKit to fill in these gaps to get you to that path. So you don't have to go like, for lack of a better word, like full adobe.com. And so what's nice is for these particular things, we can say, well, how do I build XYZ? Well, let's go take a look at AuthorKit if these other resources are not ready for you. We lost ABC customer. Okay, well, we can, like when you sales engineer and you're trying to on the fly solution architect, you can go talk to them and help them. Or again, how can we take this thing that's a little bit inspired by adobe.com? In fact, it shares quite a bit of DNA with adobe.com. And so we can give you a nice clean, like, hey, instead of the sort of 150 lines that have been built up over the last 4 years, we can give you those 5 lines that like work for most use cases.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think with that, we can kind of do a quick demo, or what do you think, Lars?
Let's do that.
Okay, cool. Should we start with code or the main site, or what are you thinking? I guess we could go to...
Let's look at the site, because where can I find it?
Yeah, so here's our site, and in fact, so there's a couple of there's kind of a couple of features that I guess we'll kind of get into the full feature set.
Mm-hmm.
But and just to compare and contrast, if we go to like AEM boilerplate, so this is AEM boilerplate, and so if you're let's say a partner, or you're even in technology, and you're trying to talk to your thought leadership group or your decision makers, and you're like, hey, this edge delivery stuff is really easy, and you send them boilerplate, and they click on these, and they're like, ooh, so well, I see that it's basic. How and so sometimes it can be hard for those decision makers to make the leap from boilerplate to, oh yeah, I'm going to build my full-blown, multi-million-dollar site. Right. And so just starting off the bat, we can see like, hey, we have mega menus. Oh, you can do mega menus on edge delivery services. And turns out it's really easy. Or another great example that folks have is if we go into like, let's do some, do we have buttons here? I don't know how to show buttons on this project. So I have a button here and maybe a button here. If we go into buttons here, it's like, well, show me if I have a very expansive design system, maybe I have an accent button for those like really important call to actions. Maybe I have a primary button for those like kind of medium important actions, a secondary button, a negative button. Because I don't know if you've heard, Lars, but you can't do flexible authoring in edge delivery. You can't have lots of features. And so maybe we have outline versions of these, or maybe we have button groups. Maybe we want to combine links and buttons. Mm-hmm. And so you can see that all of a sudden, instead of us saying like, no, or you being like, well, if I don't see it in boilerplate, it must not exist. No, it does exist. There's so many different great ways to do this. And we show you those patterns. Yep. If we click into here, you can actually see a nice subtle video playing in the background. And if we inspect this, you can actually see it. So this is a developer call. So you can see there's the video and it's playing in the background. Mm-hmm. But if we view source on this, you'll notice we have a link that points to our MP4, and then we have a picture tag inside. So what's great about this is that while the MP4 is loading, your picture tag shows up as LCP, and because it's an actual picture tag, you're getting really great, Media Bus is going to give you that perfectly optimized image. Yeah. So here's that 750 WebP. And then once the video is ready, it'll kick the picture tag out and display the video. And again, we've seen people trying to shoehorn this 2000 pixel image into the poster attribute, and then they're wondering, well, why is my LCP so slow? And it's like, well, you put a 2000 pixel image in your LCP. And so we wanted to give you an example of that. Here's some cards. So you can see here we have this nice title here, some cards, and kind of getting into the nitty gritty, hash utils. So typically what we like to say is, don't make your authors have to author every single link with linking out to a new window. But your authors can feel like, well, I don't have any control over maybe this one particular link I do want to. And so while we might say like anything off origin, you should probably kick out to a new tab. There are some cases where maybe I want to kick out to a new tab. So we have something that we call hash utils, which allows you to, which allows the author some flexibility in how they open the link. In fact, if we click and we open up, do I still have, we might not still have it. Let's see if it's, oh yeah, this opens up in a new link. And if we inspect this, you'll see this hash underscore. And this is kind of just a pattern that we used on adobe.com that was very successful, where it's like, hey, if you as an author, you deliberately want to opt into this, just use a #_, and that tells us that this is some sort of utility that you want to do. And we happen to say, well, if it's _blank, we want a new window.
Right.
And I you know, Lars, I really liked the way you framed this, which is like, hey, you know what? If you want an unopinionated place to go, like boilerplate is a really great option. And then if you want a really opinionated, like, hey, somebody's got to have some opinions on this stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's where AuthorKit kind of lands.
Yep.
Same thing with localization, which we'll touch in. So you can actually see here we are, and I can click on German here. And what's nice about this is you'll notice that this is all localized, right? And we automatically localize everything for all the links and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think if we have, so you can actually see here, we will actually fix all the links, and I'll show the code for all of this. You'll notice that for English, it doesn't automatically, this nuance may get lost, but we're on /DE here. Actually, in fact, another good one.
English now is written as English.
Yeah.
Which is how the Germans would say it.
Yeah. So this was machine translated from Google, and Google said, okay, if you're localizing this, you know, that's what you're going to want. I actually had a customer say that Edge Delivery doesn't support the language attribute on HTML, and I thought that was kind of funny. And so, like, big shock, there's the language attribute.
Yeah.
You can see that a lot of this is just born out of people saying Edge Delivery can't ... And trying to do it in a nice sort of programmatic way. Widgets is another good example where I might not even have an example of this. Let's go pull an example real quick. So we'll go to YouTube, and I probably have a YouTube. Perfect. AM permissions on DA. Let's go authors and content real quick. So I don't think I have AuthorKit as a recent project, so we'll just type it in manually. AM sites, AuthorKit drafts. So we'll just go. I'll switch my org. So we'll just do a new document here. Hello world. And so a great example of this is I might want to have some text next to a video. So I might do something like maybe I even add section metadata, and I have like a grid, and I say 2. And then maybe I have some like a card here. I don't know if I have actual, I'll throw in a card real quick. So we'll throw in a card, maybe merge these cells, do some lorem ipsum here, and then I can throw in my YouTube video. And so we can even probably preview this. So let's actually preview this. And so you can see that we'll start to lay out, and I missed, and this is actually part of the gig, right? Is you might have some, with flexibility comes complexity. And so here I just sort of like ad hoc started typing things, and I didn't quite follow the patterns that we might have. And so here we have kind of a disjointed experience. And so that's where kind of the sort of buyer beware comes in, which is like, hey, if you're asking for this complexity or you're asking for this flexibility, you're going to have to document it, or you're going to have to give some patterns. Of course, if I go over here, and in fact, we'll try columns here. In fact, I'll just trash this. So we'll delete this, maybe throw in some columns here, and we'll do that lorem ipsum, and then we'll take our little, throw this in, and we probably don't even need this, and we can preview. And so here we can see, oh, okay, cool. So I can have a video next to text, and that's pretty great. And so what's nice about this is we kind of give you this idea of almost like one extra level of nesting. And this is a pattern that we use just all the time, which is auto blocking. If I recognize that this is a youtube.com link, go ahead and convert this to a block. In fact, if we look at this, if we were to inspect this right here, you would actually see in column 2, we have a class of video. And so this is a video block.
Mm-hmm.
And so, hey, that sort of one of those gripes or whatever. Hey, you can't have nesting. It's like, no, you actually can. And we're going to show you really great, useful patterns to do this. We showed mega menu. Another one is kind of works together, which is dark mode and your design system. So again, like sometimes you as a developer, maybe you're like, oh, that wouldn't it be great to do light and dark mode? But that sounds like a lot. And we've gone ahead and done that research for you to make it really easy. So, how do we respect your preference as an author from an accessibility perspective? Maybe I want to have dark, at night or whatever. So here, we'll give you really great patterns to do that. In fact, we'll pull up the code base itself. In fact, I'll pull it up in Cursor because that's a little bit easier. Let's go pull this up and let's pull up AuthorKit. And we will go to our styles, style CSS. And so what's great is we're using all of the latest, most modern CSS tricks, lowercase CSS tricks. So we're using color scheme. We have a light and dark color scheme. If you as a either partner or a customer, you're like, hey, how can I have these tokenized colors? We've got a built-in design system, so you can kind of, again, pull from inspiration. You can actually see how we're intelligently using variables here. And so, before it used to be very laborious to do light and dark mode. And here you can basically just set these little quick, and again, this is all native CSS. We can just set light and dark, and then it takes care of everything automatically for you. And so we wanted to show you the way you can do these things. And another piece to this is you can actually see here in this area we have this like dark purple, and if we go to our in fact our homepage where this actually lives. We scroll all the way down. So you can see that we have a background and we're actually using, it's funny because we have people, some customers are like, I want a really locked down, my authors can only select 1 or 2 colors. And then we have people that are like, hey, go wild. We want to give authors absolute complete control. Yep. And so here we have this color token. So we know we're kind of tying into the design system. Now you'll notice this is white on dark for accessibility reasons, of course. And we might want to say, well, what if I wanted to do a light purple, a 100? And if we were to know about that in our design system, we would know that color purple is going to be really light. Are we going to tediously make the author also pick the foreground color? And of course, the answer is no. So let's go ahead and preview this. And so if we scroll all the way down, you'll see that we will automatically figure out the foreground color. And that's done in section metadata. And again, you might think, oh gosh, that's going to be so much code to write. And what's really great is I just vibe coded something real quick where it's like, hey, parse this color. Guess what I'm never going to do? I would have never parsed this color. So I just had my friend Cursor, figure out this parsing algorithm. Get me the relative luminance. I am not a color theory expert. These values, I have no idea what they are. I just know that they work.
Perfect.
And I parse the color and I get the relative luminance to figure out whether or not we're going to do a light scheme or dark scheme. And again, it just ties all in. And the hope is that you have less code to maintain as a result of this. So it's kind of fun. Yeah. The next piece is
Chris. Before you go there, I wanted to ask you about something. I'm seeing a little date simulator.
Yeah.
In the bottom right here.
Yes.
What's the story here?
Yeah, actually, so it's funny, Yars. You're on to the next dot here. So scheduling. This is another one where people struggle. I've seen people attach dates to actual blocks, and it's like, ooh, that's not going to scale very well, because you don't just want to schedule a singular block. Or the other piece is you then have to update your page to update your content, and you might have, if you're updating a schedule that's on a block. How do you know that this text hasn't changed? And so you kind of want to be able to schedule content decoupled from your main content, because if you have to change your homepage to change a schedule on your homepage, well, what's the point of having a schedule to begin with? Right. So there's a couple pieces to this. First of all, it's this auto block. We actually detect that you have the word /schedules in here. And we will actually key this in. And so if we look in our scripts here, we say, hey, if you run across a link that has /schedules / this is a schedule block, go do your magic. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with Fragment. And so what's cool about this is you set this, and it's almost like a slot on your page. And this can be anywhere. This can actually be in your, because we heavily lean on fragments, this can be anywhere. So we have this main promo. And if we go look at this, so let's go up to the top. Let's go open this up. Let's go look at our schedules here. And we have this main promo. And so again, we've taken the time to obsess over this stuff, and we've seen what works in the wild and what doesn't work. And so here we have a default. So basically, if you're not in one of these dates, just show this fragment. And you could actually even remove this if you wanted to, and say, well, if you don't have a fragment to show, just show nothing. And so here we have a couple of nice little Memorial Day and 4th of July and back to school. You can actually see, as Lars said, we're currently simulating October 23rd. And so if we scroll down here, we can see, of course, since we're in the October window, we're showing the Halloween promotion. And what's cool is we can just say, I want to change this. What did our site look like? And you can do this, of course, in front. So it doesn't have to be from the past. But since we don't have it, actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do something. We'll simulate something in the future. So we'll just say this, and then we'll just say 11:01. We'll just say back to school is within the Thanksgiving time window, because that's what we got today. So we'll just say 11:30. We'll preview this. So we'll show the back to school promotion. So we'll just refresh, and let's make sure we have a fresh cache here. And if we scroll all the way down, we're still simulating. So let's change this. In fact, let's actually close this all out. So you can see we just have our sort of we fall into the back to school slot of the schedule. And if we wanted to, we can say what's really nice about this is you'll notice that if we click on our mega menu, you'll see a promo here. And big shocker, we have a header promo.
Got it.
And it's right here. So you just have these like little slots that you can intersperse across your site. So how did we, just like we added, if we go scroll all the way down here, and you have this main promo, my promo schedule, or my promotion schedule for my header, well, how did we set that? We go into fragments.
I would think
and we go into nav and header in our whole features mega menu. And here's our features mega menu. And
there it is.
Promo. Right. And what's interesting is we show this, and of course, again, it's kind of amazing how much, like, I kind of hear it all. And it's like, well, okay, you just showed me this list and you're leaking my promo information. So anyone can see the back to school promotion, and they're going to click on it and they're going to get the best deal. And it's like, well, isn't that a good thing? And if you think like, hey, leaking, that's great that I can sort of preview, right? So we just we have that sidekick button or you can do schedule equals now, and you can go, change and simulate what day. So like if we wanted to do our little 4th of July promotion, I think, so we'll go the 6th and we'll accept. And if we scroll all the way down, we're going to see our 4th of July promotion. That's great, but you're leaking all my data. And what's cool is if we take this and we go to authorkit.dev, why do we only see one promotion, Lars?
I'm guessing there's a Cloudflare worker somewhere.
Hey! You're too good. And so it's like, well, yeah, for production, of course you don't want to leak this information. And we can tell you that. We can say, hey, it's really easy to do this stuff. And then the next question is always, well, okay, if it's so easy, where's the code for it? And Lars, I'm glad you mentioned it. There is code for it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a lightly tweaked version of the Cloudflare worker you get from aem-live. And one of the two pieces are get cacheability. So for that promotion, you may not want to cache that URL, because when the clock strikes 12 for that next day, or whenever your promotion starts, you want that to be live.
Yep.
And you'll notice we have a function called get schedule. And so get schedule, if we look here, get schedule, it just hey, if it includes schedules similar to the auto block lookup and ends with JSON, just return null. So we don't have a schedule to give you. Just continue on. You don't need to worry about us. Otherwise, we're going to get the response from our origin. We're going to figure out which date we're currently in, and we're going to strip out everything. So again, we're giving you really great examples of how you can do these common questions of like, hey, I don't want to leak my promotion information, and how do I do content scheduling in a simple way? And it's like, well, if you know how to have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns in a spreadsheet, you're a scheduling master at this point. I'm trying to think if there's a few other things. This was another piece that we kind of have seen and run into, which is Sidekick plugins. We've seen some people struggle with this, which is if you don't know this up front, Sidekick actually has it has a really comprehensive, maybe not SDK per se, but it has a really comprehensive plugin system. And part of that is that you can key off certain, like when somebody clicks a button. In fact, we had a really great lab, which I'll share with the community today. But inside, we wanted to, like, you might say, oh, Sidekick, you ask around in Discord, and it's like, oh yeah, Sidekick has an event that fires, so you know when Sidekick's ready, and you go wire up that event, and then you find out, well, okay, sometimes the Sidekick is ready before I get the event. And so you get into kind of a race condition, and we're like, well, let's give people, like, let's not let people have to go figure that out on their own. And so we actually have, so inside the project, it's automatically wired up to basically say, hey, try and get Sidekick. So that's just document query selector. And if you don't have Sidekick, add the document listener. And then when that document event listener fires, go ahead and get Sidekick. And so we pre-plumb this. And so that's where you can have those pre-plumbed. And so again, a lot of times it's like, well, I just need an example, and then I can get unblocked. And so, or in the case of this one, I saw the event listener in some random project, and then now I'm having a race condition. Why am I having a race condition? And it's like, no, we're going to set you up for success here. And then we covered the workers reference implementations, and then maybe the other piece, and I'll probably dial into the design system a little bit more, but this was another one where you may have Splunk or you may have CoreLogix where you want to log out your content. Or another piece is like, I'm writing a whole lot of console.logs in my try catches. And because Boilerplate is using Airbnb ESLint standards, I'm getting shouted at for doing console.log in my try catches. And I don't like that. That's not fun. And so what's really cool is that a great example, or we wanted to empower you to make your own logging. So if you do want to capture, so kind of killing a couple of birds with one stone, which is I don't want to see ESLint get upset at me for using console.log.
Right.
And I also want to be able to log these errors. Maybe if maybe Lars tells me don't use rum for error logging, and I want to log it to maybe my internal IT service wants me to use something. So if we look at this, you can actually see here in this get config, we will try to pull in your own logging, or we will use the logging that is coming up here. So what's kind of fun is even if I take this and I go into my scripts and I say, well, I want to have my own logging for whatever reason. And so I go in here and I say log, and I say, well, we'll do something like extremely trivial. And so we'll just say we have our exception, and maybe we have the element. So we can just say console.log. Let's log the exception, and then console.log send to Coralogics, maybe. And what's cool is that we can just say, hey, when we're setting that config, again, you're sort of here to look for a really opinionated way of doing things and set config and sort of configuration over convention, kind of maybe a little bit of both. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to supply you a log because we want to be able to BYO log. And this kind of goes hand in hand, which is if we, let's go back and make sure I did this correctly. So we log conf.log, that's great. So what's kind of fun is if we go to, let's say, a net new page. So let's actually close this, and we'll just go to, I don't know, drafts, Millar, testing, 1, 2, 3. Make sure we refresh. And if I pull this up, we will fire up an AEM. So let's go into AuthorKit and do a AEM up. Let's make sure I close all my other things here. And if we're hopefully we're not running long, but we'll do AEM up here. So let's try and purposefully break something. So let's just say, let's make a new block here. And we'll just say Discord is cool. And let's go, let's just say heading hello. And we'll preview this. First of all, one thing that we found very helpful for Adobe.com is telling authors if something, like visually showing authors that something died.
Right.
So even if you use a block, so even if you have a block that is maybe accurate, showing the authors like, hey, something went wrong, instead of sort of transparently dying. Now this big, flashy error message won't show in production. In fact, I can show this real quick. If we go in here, you can actually see in load block, we will catch and we will fire this. And again, we'll just sort of get config and log, and you'll see that we're not getting that error, so which is nice. But if we wanted to see what's the cause and effect of us bringing this in to our like BYO logging, so we'll do localhost 3000 and hit it. And if we look here, you'll actually see, hey, we sent that to CoreLogics. So again, just giving you the sort of like just a tiny little bit of patterns in order to do these like a slightly more opinionated ways of doing things. Maybe last but not least, we'll kind of do a quick tour of some of the authoring flexibility. Again, we said, I'm not the biggest fan of these sort of utilities where, the authors get into fiddly sort of like these tedious like spacing and grid systems and things. But what ends up happening is this is sort of what I see in the wild, and I'll kind of actually blow this away, and we'll do let's do another block here. Whoops. And So what we do is somebody will say, hey, I want to, my authors are asking for more flexibility than what I want. And we're like, oh, you really shouldn't do that. And what we end up seeing as a result of that is sort of a stalemate, because we'll see spacing. So it'll be like spacing, XXL, grid 5, and then container equals 6, and dark scheme. And all of a sudden you get this like this is kind of even a lightweight example of this, but what we end up seeing is something that ends up looking like this.
Yeah, magic incantations
that are just jammed into the style. And it's like, all right, we're gonna try and meet you in the middle a little bit. And so if we go into index here, so here's our project, and maybe I'll even zoom out a little bit just so we can kind of show you. We'll do, yeah, this is great. So you'll notice we have sort of a 6-up pattern here. And if we scroll down to where our little cards are, I can see, oh, looks like we have 5. So we have this like little 5-up, and it's like, well, okay, well, what if this looked like 2-up? Well, you know, and maybe I probably need to zoom out just one more. Okay, perfect. So you can actually see it. So it's like, okay, let's give you patterns that we've seen in the wild that seem to work for folks, which is, okay, I want a grid of 2. I want some spacing of XXL. In fact, we'll demystify some of these a little bit. I'll give you a visual to accompany the sort of key value pairs. Let's see if we have, perfect. Okay. So just to get back to sort of, we'll walk and give you some of these ideas. So you have page metadata and sections, which are described by section metadata. You have blocks, which can go into sections. And then you obviously have those like YouTube widgets and schedules that can go inside a block. So it gives you that extra level of nesting that you might be looking for. In the case of section metadata, you have grid. So that's how many items I want up. What kind of gap do I want between those items? What kind of spacing do I want between above and below? Do I want a background? Do I want to contain those items? Maybe I want them to be full width. Maybe I want them to be sort of contained, like bootstrap style. And so that's what all of these are. And so we have a grid of 2 with spacing XXL. And so let's go see what that looks like. So there's our 2-up grid. Maybe I want those, if we look, maybe these are a little too wide and a little too big on this screen. So we might say, okay, I've looked up the documentation or whatever. I know that I can go in and ask for a custom container size. And so maybe I say container, and I say, oh, I want that to be like half the width. I want it to be 6. And so maybe my circles are a little bit smaller. And again, this is really great. It's kind of like checking a lot of boxes from like, if you as a developer or a partner, you're like, no, document authoring can be flexible. This is kind of a great place to just be like, oh yeah, let's just play around and futz with this and see what we get out of this. Hey, I think I have a blue color token for let's say 800. Let's do a really dark blue. What does that look like? And all of a sudden, your authors can kind of feel like almost like, hey, I'm back in control a little bit.
Yeah,
this is kind of AuthorKit. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, very cool. So let's in terms of questions, let's just repeat the basics. Where can I find AuthorKit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can go to authorkit.dev. What's funny is we probably don't have a link to the GitHub repo. So I will, in fact, let's do that right now. So we can go to AM sites, AuthorKit. So we can go here and let's just go throw in a link here, right? So we just want view on GitHub, and we will just select Command K, throw in our URL, hit OK. And we want this to be a button, so a primary button. So we'll just do that. And let's go publish. There it is. Okay, so you can just go to authorkit.dev, and then you can view
the link to GitHub. Excellent.
Yeah,
always has been.
So there you go. You can go view it on GitHub, and you'll notice, and this is kind of a great example where I click on this, and my tab, it just sort of subsumes my tab. And if Lars comes in and says, "Hey, Chris, people are saying that they lose where they are," and it's like, okay, well, let's do hash _ blank. Again, give our authors a little bit of control, and publish that again. And we should have, this will take over that tab. We'll just make sure we refresh, and now it opens in a new tab. So there you go. So this, I think authorkit.dev is a great place to get started, especially if you're trying to show your decision makers, or you're trying to convey like, no, document-based authoring and DA and edge delivery services can totally handle all of our use cases. I've seen it with my very, very eyes.
Yeah. So as the developer, should I just adopt AuthorKit wholesale, or should I pick and choose?
I think that's a great question, Lars. AuthorKit is community driven. So what I would recommend, at least these early days, is go start with boilerplates. Keep an eye on AuthorKit, especially like as you kind of think about these more advanced use cases. You can use it as a base project, but you're not going to get like official Adobe support. This is very much a community-led project. I do really like to think of it like this sort of helpful tool, like whether you're looking for inspiration or something to just, we'll go back to this screen, something that is to help you along the way to build up to that big enterprise site. So I would say start with boilerplate or the existing block collection project. Use AuthorKit as sort of inspiration. You can, again, not to say you can't start with AuthorKit, but if you want Adobe support, boilerplate's the best place to go.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm quickly going to see if we have questions.
Hey,
the audience.
There you go. Sorry for photobombing.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, good to see you. So I was expecting Dominic to come back, but this is
all good.
So there you are. Okay.
We've just been lurking backstage. Sorry about that.
we have one question from the audience, which is since the content stays directly in Content Bus, how does AuthorKit facilitate migration scripting? Does the Content Bus have APIs to send the data to? Okay, so this is, I would say this is probably not necessarily a pure AuthorKit question, more a migration question. But
I can maybe tackle that. So Content Bus is really where your aem.page content lives and your aem.live content lives. And so AuthorKit is really just sitting on top. When you hit aem.page, it's just JavaScript and CSS that's sitting on top and lighting up those experiences. So it's, to Lars's point, it's kind of doesn't really apply. However, one use case we were actually talking about yesterday, which is like the current block collection. If you try to do tabs, like this tab sort of pattern, everybody kind of does it, even though it's not really great for accessibility. AuthorKit sort of being modular in nature and sort of flexible, and sort of the fact that you kind of have that extra layer of nesting, you may have more headroom in using AuthorKit to do a migration, or to take some of those AuthorKit patterns of like, how do they do nested blocks inside tabs? Because I'm not supposed to do nest, and it's like we're going to have those patterns to show you. That might be helpful to you. So it might actually be helpful to say like, okay, I need to migrate this tabs thing, but I don't see a good like straightforward landing spot in block collection. you might be able to kick out to either Block Party or AuthorKit to find a pattern that maybe works for you and your because we all did it back in the day. It was like parse this inside parse this inside parse this, and that's why we don't like nesting, because we knew what was dry for us was painful for authors.
Absolutely. Okay, good. I think going to give the audience one more minute to quickly type a question, which we are then going to read out. And if that doesn't happen, then I have a question, which is, Chris, if I come up with the perfect question that's 5 minutes after the stream ends, where I'm going to ask it?
Discord,
right? So if you're not on Discord, it's discord.gg /aem-live, and yeah. So Chris, I'm seeing already the thank yous coming in from the audience. So here's a thank you from me. This is thanks for building this. Right, it's fantastic to see you taking your very opinionated approach that you read that influenced adobe.com, that led to the creation of Milo, that led to the creation of DA, and turn this into something that is much richer than the minimalism that we promote with Boilerplate, and gets you on your way to your own adobe.com without having you to force to adopt all the idiosyncrasies of adobe.com.
Yeah, and actually that's something that we didn't say, and it's probably worth mentioning. Like, you know, that was also part of it, was like we tried things on adobe.com because we also had firsts on adobe.com, and it was like, oh, we tried that and don't do that, but it's still live. Right. And we were kind of stuck with that pattern. So it's like, oh, don't do what we did. And so I can't even show you what we did because it didn't work out very well. And I can tell you, so it's like, okay, well, if I shouldn't do this, what should I do? And it's like, okay, let's kind of reevaluate. So
good. Yeah. I think we have one last question, which is, Chris, can you talk a bit about the table block? Actually, yeah. So
yeah, this is great. Actually, so it's funny because we were talking about like how AuthorKit shares DNA with some well-known projects. So let me, I'm getting in trouble with my boss for missing our one-on-one for this call, but let me share my screen. And what's funny, what's pretty funny about this. So you all can see my screen?
Not yet, but now we can see it.
Okay, great. So it's funny because this AuthorKit was born out of, like, we started off with adobe.com, and then I ripped out some of the parts that I was a fan of on adobe.com, and that's what led to the foundation of DA and Nexter. And then that led to, and it has followed a very similar edge delivery pattern of like build something 5 times before you try to make it a standard or a library. And so one of the pieces along the way was this documentation site that we have. And what's kind of fun is if we go into guides and probably set up translation, maybe if we look here, this is a really great example. We have this scenario where folks are like, hey, how do I have like table rows, like actual table rows with table spans? Because and in this case, it's a really great example. Like, I have this documentation site. How do I have like complex tables? And again, it's one of those things where it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but we know that the use case is there. So let's select docket, and I think we can hit edit on this. And so we can open up this translation site, and let me kind of zoom in here. And so if we look here, you can, we make it a little difficult for a reason, but you can do row spans and column spans if you put a table inside a block. And so here, and again, if you just have straightforward, non-merge related rows and stuff, please just go use the table block that's in block collection. It does take those divs and convert them to an actual table. But if you do, it's like, nope, I'm signing up for complexity. I want complexity. It's like, okay, let's give you a pattern of how to do that complexity. And so here it is. So great question on that one. It is possible to have complex tables on edge delivery. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Chris, thank you again. I don't send regards to your boss. I don't want to make you be too late to your one-on-one. And I think that leaves us with the traditional closing question, which today I'm going to direct towards Ron. Ron, I hope you're prepared. When are we going to be on air next time?
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted. So, but I can see that.
There you go. So
exceptionally well prepared. So
yes, exceptionally well. I have no idea. I know we're doing an Ask Me Anything session, but I don't. Dominic didn't say when.
Okay.
So
excellent. Well, you know what?
It's coming up. So
okay. So we have 2 places where you can find out. Number one, you go to aem-live/community, which you should visit regularly because this has all the most up to date. It's also going to have this recording once we post it. And number 2, we have our Discord, and you're going to get a notification when it's time for the Ask Me Anything session that we are planning in the next couple of weeks.
All right. Yeah. Okay. That's great. So, excellent. And thank you guys also for Developers Live. I just wanted to, the recordings are available on YouTube. So if you want to check those out, you can see Lars's amazing session. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see Chris's amazing lab, but we'll potentially make that available. So
we'll make that available today.
Yeah, we'll make the lab so that you guys can go through it and without sans the Chris magic, but it's all there. Yeah. So perfect. There you go.
Okay, well then, thanks everyone on the stream for dialing in. And Ron, Chris, and I are going to stay online a couple more minutes after we close the stream, so that we can upload the recording in glorious HD. So for the benefit of our YouTube audience. Thanks everyone again. Chris, thank you. Ron, thank you. Audience, thank you. Really the best community in web development. I'm glad to have you, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks.